What is it like being a Jamaican in Morocco? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Georgandez and Tianka, Jamaicans who are living in Morocco. Welcome, guys. How are you?
We are good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
And how are you doing, Xavier?
Well, so let me start out. Which part of Jamaica each of you are from?
All right. So I spent most of my years in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, but my roots, my family is from Salisbury Plain, St. Andrew.
Okay.
All right.
And for me, I'm originally from Kingston. However, I lived in Spanish Town, St. Catherine.
All right, all right. I'm a what I say St. Catherineite also, Portmore. So we're all representing here. So which school each of you are representing?
Meadowbrook High. Let your light so
Yeah.
shine all the way.
And I'm from
And Georgandez?
Hydel High.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So it looks like Tianka, I am in some of the greenish. Well, back in the day, I think Meadowbrook used to wear green, so I'm kind of helping represent you today. I think it was green and blue.
Yeah, green and blue plaid too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking like, oh wait, you know.
Yeah.
So tell us the story of how you both got there to Morocco.
All right, interesting
Juicy
story.
one.
So I'm a Montessori guide, and so as a Montessori practitioner, it opens a lot of doors to travel and to work in different parts of the world, which we like. Georgandez is the founder of Virtual Media Hive, a virtual assistance and digital marketing company. So he's a digital nomad, so he can really work and operate from anywhere, and we love to travel. So after we had our first child, Jornaya, in 2018, we came back from the States and we were in Jamaica for a while, just spending some time as new parents and getting to enjoy her a bit. Did some work at a little Montessori school there, and then I felt like it was time for us to get out there again and see what's there. So I started to apply around, I had my eyes on a few countries. And so I started to apply around. Once I started getting the feedback in and did some interviews, I started to do my research. While we were researching about Morocco, watching the videos, reading the blogs, all of that, I think we kind of fell in love with the culture.
Yeah.
And we kind of fell in love with as well the geographical location, being kind of center in the world, close proximity to Europe and so on. You'll be able to see a lot of other places in and around Northern Africa, Europe, etc. at a affordable price. So that was good for us. And so the deal was done, and we decided that we were going to be off to Morocco. And then we were having a conversation one night, and then we were like, you remember the prophecy that we received at a family reunion? This would have been in 2018. We made a decision and signed off on things to go to Morocco in 2019. And we remember the prophecy we received at this family reunion. One of our family members were telling us, I see you guys moving to an Arabic country, and I see Arabic people, stretching their hands forth and saying, "Come on, we receive you. You're my brother. You're my sister." And then, that's when it just sealed the deal for us. And moving here is exactly like that. We have a
Wow.
great community here.
Wow,
And of
wow.
course,
So how,
people thought
go
we
ahead,
were
I'm sorry.
crazy to move all the way from Jamaica to Africa.
Of course.
But
And how
nonetheless,
long?
So we've been here 2 years and a
2 years.
couple months now. So
Yeah.
since August 2019.
Nice, nice. I love the idea of the location. So let me tell you a little story. I've been to Morocco.
Mhm.
I came on a one-day visit. We were in Spain, and so we took the ferry to. I don't remember the name. Don't remember the name of the place. Right?
Tangier.
What was it?
Tangier. Tangier.
Yes, yes, yes. That was the name of it. and we got there and toured it, and the people were really warm. So tell me a little bit about your experience with the people. I mean, I know we're kind of tourists there, but what are the people like?
So yeah, they're generally really warm, quite accepting and helpful. We live in Casablanca, which is more of the hustle and bustle cities. Like it's comparative to or Kingston then, or Kingston and St. Andrew. So it's more work and tall buildings, densely populated. But when we visit the touristy areas, the Marrakesh and these places, it's a different vibe. More people are speaking English. Everybody's trying to get to know you, and obviously you have the mark stamped on your face, tourist. So everybody's open, want to get a sale, of course. Morocco is huge on haggling, and everybody wants to get a sale. And once they oh, where are you from? Where are you from? Jamaica. Everybody kind of gets excited. Oh, I've never met a Jamaican before. So the reception is generally warm, but here back home in Casablanca where we live, it's more more realistic, I would say. And the reception tends to be mixed, generally positive though, I would say. For the most part, persons are helpful, especially in the beginning when we didn't speak much of the languages, and navigating was a nightmare. Persons tend to be persons were helpful.
So a married couple, one probably knows more of the language. That's what I tend to find than the other. So,
I would get lost here, completely lost. I mean, I know a little, but Tianka, it's like Tianka is my personal survival guide. Oh yeah, she's my Google translator, everything. Like Tianka, yeah. For sure.
Georgandez, you have gotten like some brownie points, some big points today with her.
Yeah.
So, but let me continue on. You said, you mentioned you're Jamaican, and if each of you could tell me one of the experiences you have in terms of, people usually have a perception, maybe even some of it is stereotypical of Jamaicans. What are some of the comments, additional comments or things you have heard or their perception of Jamaica and Jamaicans?
So after you go through the initial hurdle, because you have one set of people who know exactly where Jamaica is in terms of geographically, what Jamaica is famous for. And then you have another set of people who knows what Jamaica is famous for, but some people think it's in Africa. Oh, where is that? So once you get over that hurdle, generally speaking, persons tend to go straight to Bob Marley or Usain Bolt.
All the time.
Straight to Bob Marley or Usain Bolt. I remember the tramway is nearby my house, and we get around via the tramway most of the time. And so, and there are lots of mosques, of course, we're in a Muslim country. So there was this blind man, much mature, probably 50s or so, and he was crossing from the tram to get to the mosque nearby my house. And so I was helping him to cross the street, and he's talking to me in French, and I'm making out what he's saying because I can understand more than I can speak. So I'm understanding what he's saying and I'm helping him to cross, but I'm not able to respond fully how he wants to. So then he goes, oh, you speak English? And I said, yes. So he starts to use his little English and he's like, oh, where are you from? So I said, Jamaica. He's like, he dropped his his stick and he was like, one love, one heart. And he's telling me how much he loves Bob Marley, and he was just so excited. So that was, I think, my most memorable experience to date.
Oh yeah, I mean, like for me, sentiments are the same. Like whenever I take like the Kareem, which is the equivalent to Uber, and like it doesn't matter how little or more French I know, they're always able to pick up on the little nuances like my accent and so forth. And so they always pick me out and be like, where are you from? And I'm like, Jamaica. And it's like the instant reaction. It's either, oh, Bob Marley. Or there was this one time a guy, like, he actually let go of the steering wheel and did like the Usain Bolt. I'm like, hands on the wheel. And most times, like once they know I'm from Jamaica, they connect it out. They always connect it with Bob Marley, and they always play like One Love or some reggae music, Jimmy Cliff, and it's very surprising that they actually know Jimmy Cliff. Bob Marley,
Expected.
is expected.
Yeah.
But some are able to dive deeper in, our culture and the music, the Jimmy
That's
Cliff,
awesome.
the Richest Spice, and yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So in terms of music though, you mentioned there is a service similar to Uber. So when you
Yeah.
jump in one of these services, what's the type of music you're hearing there in Morocco?
Arabic,
No, not
predominantly.
sometimes predominantly, but Kareem is a very tech savvy app, so it's most of the younger people or age group that are drivers, and so they tend to play that English radio station a lot. So we hear on that station, you hear a lot of Sean Paul,
Yeah. For
a lot of Sean Paul, and American music, the hip hop,
sure.
R&B. But you can always hear Sean Paul at least once every 2 hours or so on that station.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. So they know the dance hall and
Yeah.
so hey.
Yeah, I do a
So
little mix.
good. So let's talk about food.
Mm.
Mm.
When
Or
I came there,
Food.
we did go to a restaurant while I was there. It was a 1 day tour
Mhm.
in Morocco, and so I did eat there, and the food wasn't bad. But let's hear from the folks that actually live there and tell us about the food, and if there's one thing you would recommend to try, what would that be? And you don't have to agree on it. I mean, hey,
We
Tiana, you may
definitely
have
don't agree.
something, and
Oh.
George, Georgandez, you may have something else that you really like. So talk to me.
Before we get into it, though, I'd like to say one of the things that was, a great culture shock to me, was to see bakeries on every corner. So just like how in Jamaica we have a rum bar on every corner, here you have a bakery on every corner. I
Every
mean,
corner.
just walking 5 minutes in our neighborhood, there are probably like 4 or 5 bakeries. So they love their pastry, they love bread, they have a great sweet tooth, and I'm not big I don't have a big sweet tooth. My husband does though, so he enjoys that. But other than that, Morocco is famous for this kind of hot pot dish that they call a tagine, and it's basically like an infusion of vegetables and different spices, that's slow cooked in a clay pot called a tagine. And so the vegetables and that mix of it tends to be the same, but then different meats. So you can have like a fish tagine, chicken, lamb, beef, etc. So he's a big fan of the
The
lamb
lamb.
tagine.
Oh yeah. All day, every day. All day, every day. I mean, the spices just give it the perfect kick, and it's just like the tagine, and it just really makes the meat very supple.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
just falls
butter,
off the
just falls
bone, and
off the
it's
bone.
slow cooked in this clay pot. So you can imagine, and the spices get all infused. But I'm not big on the Moroccan spices, so for me, I will eat it, but it's not my favorite thing to eat. If I'm gonna go Moroccan cuisine, I much prefer their grilled meat. So they do like and more. They're big on meat. I mean, next thing that you see often a lot of butcher shops, and you see the cow and the goat just hanging there. They eat a lot of fresh meat. Not like how we would slaughter and freeze. They have a lot of fresh meat always hanging. So they eat a lot of protein. So they tend to have these places like equivalent to like a jerk hut,
Right.
where the meat is slow grilled on the nice wood and stuff. I much prefer that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: have you found something that's unusual? We do the goat head, the manish water, the cow cod. Have you found something unusual that they eat
The,
in
the
Morocco?
camel. The
The
camel.
camel.
And
The
have you
camel.
tried it?
No.
No. I would say yet for Tianka, because Tianka is a bit more
Yeah, I
adventurous
will
than I.
try, but I haven't tried yet. He won't try.
No.
And next, they love escargot, snail. They love a snail soup. So just like how you see soupy on the roadside in Jamaica, you'll see soupy here as well, giving a fresh bowl of snail soup.
But I think you've tried it, right?
Oh,
I haven't.
No?
No, I want
you
to, but
haven't tried? Oh man, I've had escargot before,
Oh, yeah?
somewhere in Europe. I don't remember where, but that snail soup sounds interesting to me.
smells good. I think peer pressure is what has been preventing me from trying. But one of these days when I'm out by myself, I think I'll just take the plunge.
Where the peer pressure coming from?
Yeah, or when we're out with friends there,
She said the
nobody
peer
wants
pressure
to
is coming
try,
from
it's just me.
So in terms of, you're in North Africa.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are, I mean, it's Africa. There are black folks there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your circle of friends, does it include, folks from other parts of Africa, or is it mainly Moroccans? And again, I know you had mentioned, when we had talked about profession, your school, what's the circle of friends like, and tell us how that dynamic is.
So I get out more than Georgandez because he works from home as well. He's all into the digital sphere. So I'm at an international school, so I have the opportunity to interact with a rich and a diverse group of people. So there's Pakistan, there is Haiti, there is France, different places. Nigeria,
Senegal,
Senegal, Cote
Russia,
d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast,
Russia.
Russia. So we have a pretty diverse staff that we interact with on a daily basis. And then outside of that, like I have other friends, like I have friends from Zambia, Sierra Leone, or caregiver that helps us at home is from Ivory Coast. So we get to delve into that rich food. I much more prefer the West Africa cuisine.
So have you all been able to travel down into the continent a little further down since you have been there?
Not yet. COVID
Unfortunately.
19 unfortunately hampered most of our plans.
Okay.
But internally, we've been slowly starting to get back around. But branching out, we haven't been able to do much of that yet.
Okay, I see. But what about going? Well, I guess it would be north, right? Spain or
No,
across.
no, we didn't because we came 2019 and then,
Okay,
settling into the new space, settling into work. And by the time we were ready to go off by March 2020, it was
COVID.
all,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I get it. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked a little bit about the language. How challenging, and what is it just, how challenging is the language, learning the language?
So we are in an Arabic country, and ideally the first language should be Arabic. But as things are progressing, a lot more persons speak French. And those that don't speak fluent French, they speak some form of broken French. So I think we have picked up more French than Arabic. And French for us, I mean, in my mind, mentally, it's easier to pronounce the words, to remember them, or to relate it to something in English so that it sticks in memory. Arabic, I just do not have the throat capacity
Oh,
to pronounce the
it's
words,
very
and
challenging.
my ears are adamant that they do not want to accept. I'm still in a rich denial stage. Like, it just sounds like blabbering to me. One and two words, courtesy, hi, hello, thank you, directions on the street in Arabic, is fine, but much more so French is what we've taken on to.
All right, all right. Customs. Have you encountered any local customs that you found very different, unique, interesting?
I would say definitely the 5 prayers per day per day for me, and the call to prayer. Just hearing that call to prayer, and that beautiful music being sung in Arabic, or that call to prayer in Arabic just echoing out. And sometimes if you're really up early in the morning, like about 5:30 or so, you can hear the mosques are in really close proximity, so you can hear it from the different mosques, and it's just this beautiful blend. And that commitment to religion, I find it fascinating, because even, you know, on the roadside, you see persons kneeling down to pray and all of that. I find that commitment to culture quite fascinating, to religion, sorry, quite fascinating.
Yeah.
So you are in the education field,
Yes.
and because you know, again, you have kids and so on. How are the interactions with their teachers? Very, you know, some people out here say, man, you come out of the west and you head east, the respect for teachers are on just another level. Again, what's been your experience?
So that's an interesting one. So for me, Montessori, for persons who are not familiar, it's mixed age classroom. So my children are from about 2.5 to 6.5. So they are younger. So younger children tend to naturally be quite respectful. However, what was different for me and quite a culture shock is that, especially to the echelons of society that our school caters to, there is a rich nanny culture. There's a rich nanny culture, so I find that especially when you're of a different hue, they associate, or their mind doesn't quite understand that you're not a nanny. So that was interesting in the beginning to work through that dynamic. But once they, you know, realize, I think, and you set the ground, it was, you know, clear for them. They're little, so I don't have that vast dynamic to encounter with.
So you're saying there's some colorism going
Yeah.
on here.
Yeah, most children, especially because their minds are so impressionistic at that age, I find that a lot of them associate my hue with the fact that you're a nanny, or you're from what they like to refer to as sub-Saharan Africa.
Ah, okay. And does this, you know, I don't want to divulge too much in the in how the society is built, but does this affect how some people are treated, and how they're, I'm thinking it does, and is, you know,
100%. 100%.
and
100%.
is that, have you seen a change? I mean, I know you've only been there 2 years, but you know, how are people navigating this? And I guess, I mean, you're Jamaican, you're going to stand up and say what you have to say.
Initially, when we first came, it was surprising to us. So many persons found it shocking to see us in certain circles, or to see us in certain restaurants, or to see us in certain malls, or to be spending certain amount of money. So initially when we came, we would get our pictures taken a lot. Persons were just so fascinated. Even now, we still secretly get our pictures taken. Persons would be so engrossed in our oldest, or daughter. Can we take a picture with her? Oh, she's so cute. Oh, it's like as if to say they've never seen a child of this hue, you know, operating in this manner before. They tend to get quite shocked and excited. I remember we were in one restaurant and you know, all the waiters, the waitress that was serving us, she went, like, you could see that she went to talk to the persons in the back, and they come in to peep. And then when we finished having our meal there, can we please take a picture with her? Can we please? And the Moroccan couple was sitting next to us, and they were so, you know, off put by it all, and she was so focusing on us. Her soup fell all over her, you know, her lap. So we get this kind of reaction, but now we kind of go to in the same circles, we kind of go to the same places, and they're used to seeing us now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Very, you know, the dynamics of each society sometime, and the layers, and the stigmas, and the divisions. Very interesting.
And of course, I want to say though, but that hasn't been in like Marrakesh or other places that I've visited. They just see us as tourists, and they're more open-minded and more exposed to different kinds of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you all have to do some type of maybe business there in terms of okay, the lease, maybe the this, and dealing with government and dealing with different local offices and so on. How is that? How is dealing with business there? How is dealing with just the basic stuff? Is it tedious? Is it easy? Is it
We are fortunate because our employer takes care of every single thing, every document, everything. You just get a folder and you show up. And I am forever thankful for that, because if there's ever a time that I greatly appreciate the snail service in Jamaica, it's
It's now.
experiencing it in in Morocco. I mean, you will go to a government office to do business, and the person they're just gone, whether they're just gone to pray or they're just sitting there having a coffee and just casually talking. It's very lax, very relaxed, culture. They're just having a coffee, talking, chatting, and you're waiting there, to the equivalent of like a United States Immigration Service office, and they're just laughing and talking, and then they serve you when you're ready. Next, laughing and talking. Next, very lax, very lax. And don't try to do business on a Friday. That's the worship day. Do not try to do
Oh, yeah.
business on a Friday at all. From going to the market. I remember one day we were going to go apartment hunting with a realtor, and we wanted to go to the market early. So we're there about 8 o'clock. No, it's not open. And some of the stalls are open, and the men are just sitting having tea, and they're looking at you like, you're not trying to shop while I'm having tea, are you?
How dare you? Oh yeah.
Jordan? Sorry, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
I can even recall this time when I was sorting out some business, and I went to a particular institution, right? And I submitted my documents, and I submitted it around last year, October, right? So they told me to come back around 6 weeks time. Knowing how the system is, I said, okay, I'm going to give a 2 weeks grace period. When I went back, the person who initially handled the documents, they were on leave, right? And the new guy who was there, he wasn't briefed on what the situation was, and I could actually see the documents that I submitted the first time on the decks, the same place that the first person took it from me and placed it.
Dust.
Yeah.
It probably had dust on it.
And it does done it. So yeah, it's
Very relaxed. They're very relaxed.
I'm very appreciative of our country. Getting this experience, our country's administration system.
It's good.
Wow. I think this is a first because I know some people said the customer service, and to hear this, very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest adjustment you all have to make, and maybe even your daughter? What's the biggest adjustment?
Mm, For me, I would say food. I find it quite limiting in terms of what I like. Like, I find that we have to stick to a lot of rice, pasta kind of thing. Like, I went back home in February, and so, but outside of that, since I've been here 2 years and a little, I haven't had green bananas, yam. I can't find a nice dry pumpkin. So that kind of compromise for me has been the greatest. The other things, I mean, I love food. So the other things I think are a welcome challenge for me, like the language, the culture, the custom. I like to engulf myself in the culture, no matter if there is negativity some of the times. But apart from the food, the rest has been welcoming for me.
And for
All
me,
right.
the
Go
language
ahead.
would definitely be that my greatest challenge. There's something about the words and the pronunciations that is very hard for my ear to detect and to register it. So just being able to get accustomed to the language and to remember the words and just to get by on a daily basis. Yeah.
So Georgandez, that's why you
Yeah.
have
Tianka.
Tianka, she has to go with you.
Yes, unfortunately, there are times when she's at work and I have to fend for myself. And at that time, yeah, I have to put on my big boy pants and
Try.
try,
So so let me ask you this: does the Google Translator kind of work same way, with the
It does. It
For
does.
French.
Yeah, for French,
For
it does.
French.
But still, when you go out, I try to avoid the being recognized as a tourist because,
The prices go
the
up.
prices go up real quick, right? And so Google Translate
Oh,
is often my last resort.
Yeah.
But what I do is before leaving home, I would recite words and the pronunciations, and we have our caretaker, and so like she helps me every now and then I just practice it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going on the road today. Conversations will be brief, and so I'm doing like 3-word sentences, 2-word sentences, just keeping it very brief.
Yeah.
And just trying to blend in, really.
Yeah. But for Arabic, the Google Translate doesn't work because here they speak a dialect of that. Most of the population
Yeah.
speaks an Arabic dialect, which is
I
referred to
see.
as Darija, which is completely different from classical Arabic. And what Google Translate does is classical Arabic. So you won't get anywhere with that in terms of Arabic.
I see. I see. That's that. So technology didn't help out in this case.
No,
No.
not with Arabic.
But for me, I'm pretty comfortable with most of the French. Going to the market, going to stuff like that. I'm comfortable. It's a broken French, but
It works.
It works.
It works. You talk about going to the market. Have you adjusted in terms of the fruits? Because I believe the fruits you're gonna get now are a little different.
Yeah.
Or are you getting some of the same?
We get some of the same, like the nectarines, the plums, the apples, the same kind of American apples, watermelon, orange. Yeah, we get pretty much the same things that we
Typically eat.
don't get are what.
Your
I mean, there
mango?
are variations of, we get imported mangoes.
Okay, all right.
So it satisfies the itch. He doesn't like mango, so it doesn't bother him as much.
Wait. This
Hey,
this is this
I
is
have an allergic reaction.
this is bordering on blasphemy
No,
here.
you don't. You
I
just
do.
don't like it.
No, I do. So,
No, you don't.
So typically when I eat mango, it really scorches my lips, and then I get like little bumps around the lips and stuff like that. So I just stay
Okay.
away.
All right. So you have a good excuse. You have a good excuse. So
Yes,
we'll
I
leave
saw
that.
that.
Yeah.
Cost of living. What's the cost of living like in Morocco?
Now you touched on my favorite thing about living in Morocco, the cost of living. The cost of living is great. I would say it's quite comparative to Jamaica, but with less inflations and fluctuations and variations in prices. Housing in the city here in Casablanca tends to be a bit on the price here, and especially if you want to live close to the tram or close to parks or whatever. But in terms of food, in terms of internal tourism, the price is phenomenal. Like restaurants every weekend is it's way within the reach. Every time off from work, going to visit other cities here is well within the reach. I mean, you're talking about a nice they don't really have they have some American type hotels, but traditionally they have what we call riads, and a nice riad with beautiful Moroccan architecture. Typically they have like a pool at the center of the courtyard and breakfast included. You're looking at like $30 a night at a very nice 4-star riad.
Nice.
So that's nice. And then you're looking at like restaurant going out. You're looking at breakfast, like a big spread. For all our family, you're looking like 10 US dollars, 15 US dollars for a whole spread.
Oh,
You're looking at like dinner. You're looking at probably $30. typically 300 dirhams. So we're looking at like 30 US dollars to $50 typically. And if you want international cuisine like Chinese, Indian, now those come at a little higher prices. But Moroccan places that are doing fusion cuisine or stuff like that tends to be relatively well priced.
So are you all driving there, or I remember I heard you said, okay, I take the type of train and Uber, the equivalent to Uber, but do you drive there?
No, I think we're still, I mean, again, you think motorists drive badly in Jamaica? No, they drive wonderful. I am comfortable driving in Jamaica, like anywhere, Mount Russell, it doesn't matter. I'm comfortable. The city, the taximan, the coaster bus, I'm fine. Here, I am trembling like a leaf.
Oh yeah, nervous.
Nervous. But that's in Casablanca though, the densely populated city. When you go out of the city, I think we'll be comfortable renting and going out of the city. But here in Casablanca, no, I'm not ready for that kind of anxiety.
And to hear you say that, it's like, hey, I'll do junction, I'll do all of them. But
this
no.
So if someone was to visit and come tomorrow, well, you're in Casablanca, what would be an event, either event, attraction, or something, or a time of year we'd say, listen, come this time, or see this if you come, or visit this location? What would that be?
Yeah. So Morocco is it's good to visit all year round. Here in Casablanca, there's not, well, for a tourist, there's enough to see for a day or two. I mean, we have the third largest mosque in the world, the Hassan II en français, mosque in Casablanca by the ocean front. It's really a great monument to behold. But outside of that, I would say any other city outside of Casablanca. So the beautiful blue city of Chefchaouen, where all the buildings are blue. That's beautiful to see. Essaouira. It was nice when we visited Essaouira. I'll tell you something about Essaouira that was a culture shock. I forgot to tell you this. So here we are in Essaouira. It was a work retreat, and it's the windy city. It's the windy capital of Morocco. I mean, you have to hold on so you don't blow away. But we went to dinner one night at this quite authentic vegan spot, the entire staff in Essaouira. And so we were waiting for food, so we decided to go upstairs and chill a little bit and look out on the stars and whatever. And to my surprise, there were so many Moroccan Rastafarian and European Rastafarian, and the smell of not fully marijuana, but the smell of what they call it hash. It's like marijuana and something else mixed, and the Bob Marley chomping, and they know all the lyrics in I shame, you see. They know all the lyrics and the whole. I mean, you would think you're in Jamaica, only, you're not. So they're in Essaouira, there's a big Rastafarian movement in Essaouira. So Essaouira is also nice to visit. So far, I love Marrakesh. I love the Red City, Marrakesh. Marrakesh has been one of our faves. The high Atlas Mountains, the Uzud Falls was beautiful to see as well. Oh yeah, that was good. With the monkeys running all over. He got bitten by the monkey, saving us from.
Wait, got what? Bitten?
Yeah, wild monkeys. So
so you didn't have to go you're okay though. You didn't have to go to hospital or anything, or
no.
But he tells the story a little bit. He amps up the drama.
It's gonna be a great story for the kids when they get older, like Daddy, the superhero dived in and saved the kids from the monkey.
You had the monkey. What's the big monkey that's in the movie? That's what you're gonna tell them. What's that big
King Kong?
Something like that.
They had a King Kong encounter.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But what happened was that the internal lockdown had just lifted, and so no external tourists were there. So the monkeys were starving. They haven't had the peanuts and the banana and the stuff from the tourists that they're used to having on a daily basis. So when we came now and we bought some peanuts, and they spotted us coming, and it was like
Come on.
a herd of they were
Oh.
just coming for the one bag of nuts. And so by the time we were taking a picture, and then it was just monkeys everywhere. It was
Everywhere.
Wow.
It happened
was
so sudden.
so quick too.
At first it was just me and the tour guide, and he's talking to me about the monkeys, and a few monkeys was on his shoulder. I think one was on my shoulder as well.
Mhm.
And Tianka and the kids, along with a few of our
No,
friends,
it was
were.
one child at the time, baby.
Oh yeah, one child. And like they were a good distance away from us, but walking towards us.
With the nuts.
And I glimpsed her with the nuts. And it's almost as if, well, clearly they smelled it from such great distance. And I'm telling you,
Or saw it, yeah.
no, they didn't see, because they were just like, the guy and I, like, we were engaged in a conversation, and the guy was just kind of like playing with them or something of that sort. And so it's very clear that they smelled it. Even a monkey was in a treetop, and he just,
Yeah.
and
What's your
it's like in a split second,
Monkeys
all of them
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And
All
so
right.
yeah.
So finish. No, I'm sorry.
yeah, and so they head towards Tianka. Tianka had the baby, and so they hopped on Tianka's shoulder. Tianka was freaking out a little bit, and then
No, a lot.
a lot. And then so was the baby as well. And so one of the monkey, so our daughter, she wear
Beads in her hair. So he was
And so it was
fascinated and starting
tugging
to
it.
pull it, yeah. Pull the
And
beads.
so I reached out to grab the monkey's hand to pull it away. And the moment I did that, I remember what the tour guide said. The tour guide told me, no matter what happens,
Don't touch.
do not touch the monkeys. And by the time I remember that, it was just a very quick and sharp bite, like rush,
Yeah.
very quick. And
Oh
like by
man.
the time I look down,
Yeah.
the bite. But it's a scar that I wear proudly now, because I have the scar to show and the video.
Oh, you have the video too.
Yeah.
Do I have the not of the bite, but of us interacting
Of
with
the whole
monkeys.
thing that
Okay.
happened before
Okay.
everybody's phone went, what's
Yeah. So yeah, it
So-
was.
So you all mentioned something here. You said second child, right? So did you have the second child there in Morocco?
We
Yeah.
did. We
Okay.
did have this pandemic baby here in Morocco. He's just 3 months old, so we had him June 21st.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. And it was in Marrakesh. On our first visit to Marrakesh was when
Oh.
I announced that we were expecting
I
the
think that's
second
a
one.
good story.
So
too.
that, yeah, Marrakesh holds a special place in our hearts. Yeah, we had the baby here.
And what was that experience like
Yeah,
in
I was
terms
just
of,
into that.
yes, tell us.
The medical care, I mean, it's quite good. Well, just like anywhere else, there are levels, and based on your income level and what you can afford, you're able to, so you're able to afford very good medical care. The biggest barriers, I think I went through 5 or 6 OBGYNs before I settled on one, because of course, persons have a tendency to say they speak English, but when it comes to the medical stuff, you want English, like solid English. I want to be able to understand everything, and so it took us a while to find the right person. It still wasn't as comfortable as we want it to be, but at least our OBGYN spoke enough English for us to be comfortable at the hospital. The delivery and stuff, and interacting with the nurses and all of that, I had to use my broken French, which was good enough. Yeah, and that was my first medical experience. I mean, in the middle of the pandemic, like lockdown March, I had a surgery June, and that was good as well. I think
Okay.
I feel quite good. I speak enough to understand and to learn.
And she's
Well,
just
good.
she speaks a lot.
So I'm gonna ask you now, what do you say? If I have to say, okay, what's the thing I personally like about just being here? What would that thing be? Don't forget the attractions, forget the what would that thing be that you say, man, this is, you know, I just like this?
Okay. For me, it would definitely be the sense of safety.
Mhm.
You know, being out on the streets, you know, like there's this sense of of safety. You don't feel as if you have to look over your back all the time. And so that's one of the things I've been able to appreciate. I remember there was even a time where when we came, we entered the apartment and we left the keys to our apartment on the other side of the door. And you know, our neighbors would come and they would just alert us, hey, the keys here, you know, here you go, such and such.
Yeah.
And so there's just this level
But
of
you didn't
safety.
do it one time. You did it you do it several times.
No,
Leave the key on the outside.
That's
That's how safe he feels.
yeah.
And they just ring the doorbell and oh, your key's outside, Leclerc. So we get it. And then I think, yeah, that general, there is petty theft, of course. But that general sense, like somebody's gonna shoot you or the major crime, no. And I love the swift justice. Like something happens today, I don't know how they do it, but they're finding the person and justice is
Yeah.
swift and justice is sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, guys, listen, I appreciate the time you have spent. This conversation could go on for, you know, a while. So I have two last questions. The first one being this one. You land in Jamaica and you get off the plane. What's that first thing each of you are going to do?
Eat.
Eat. For sure, eat. Jerk pork.
Eat. Ackee and sawfish.
Jerk. It's the jerk pork for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. All right. And the final question. How do you say goodbye in the most informal way if you're in Morocco?
So in French, au revoir. And in Arabic, masalama.
Masalama.
Or we just say salama.
All right.
Or if it's later, atutela.
Wait. Is Atitela French or is it Arabic?
French.
So which one is the dialect, Arabic dialect?
Masalama. Masalama is classical Arabic. Salama. It's the same in Darija.
All right. Guys, thank you. And Selama?
Yes,
Salama.
Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.